Hey guys, it's Andrew here from Heroic Play, and I've got some more Guild Ball tactics for you today, but this actually will mark a new series we're doing called Guild Ball Basics. We've got a lot of really great new players in our community, and I thought this would be a great time to go over some of the basic things and like strategies you can do in Guild Ball. And today we're focusing on techniques you can do when a character has a 2-inch reach. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is pretty simple, but a lot of new players can mess this up. When you have a 2-inch reach model, it is always a smart idea to stay out of 1 inch. So Grace has a 1-inch melee range. So if you go close like this, Grace can actually counterattack you. But if you have reach, if you just stay like that, just barely out of her range, she literally can do nothing. So avoiding counterattacks. Another thing you can do is you can set up better push angles. So if you're a 1-inch model and you're coming from like this angle here, pushing Grace, it will actually take about 3 pushes to get her here, right closer to your team, which might be over here. Right now, see, if you have reach, you actually can come in at a different angle. You see what I mean? Where now, instead of having to push around decimate, you can just push in a straight line like that. Versus if you're a 1-inch melee, now you have to do 1 inch here, and then 1 inch here, and then you can clear it, right? When you have reach, you can come in at a different angle, so even over here, and now you just push in a straight line directly to your team. So better push angles. Now, another thing is, obviously, when you have 2-inch reach, your threat extension increases. Also, the amount of area of denial that you have increases as well. So the thing is, when you want to get into a scrum, like let's say Pint Pot's got 1-inch melee, if you're all 1-inch melees, it's really hard to get someone into a scrum like that. But if you've got reach, you know, you're not really clogging up the field as much. You see what I mean? It's way easier to get your crowd outs and your gang ups with reach, just like that. So, you know, it's way easier to get your crowd outs and your mosh pit tech set up, which is why a bunch of Brewers models has reach. So starting from the top, with counterattack, avoiding, with like, for example, Grace has a 1-inch melee range, just stay out. Extending your threat range. So, you know, instead of being a, let's say you're a jog of 8, you now have a 10-inch threat range. So some opponents might not know that. They might just assume it's a 9, and you could catch people off guard. Also getting easy mosh pit and crowd out tech. Now the next thing you can do is Grace is a striker. So if she has the ball, Veteran Decimate actually can strip that ball from her and there's nothing she can do. So what can happen is if you're got, like for example, Pint Pot goes for a tackle, Grace can actually tackle it back off of a counterattack and muck up a lot of your plans. But if you have reach, you can safely steal that ball and actually kick it to someone else without a penalty. If it was a 1-inch versus a 1-inch model, even if Pint Pot had the tackle, he would have had to pay a penalty to make the pass or kick, goal, whatever, right? So safely tackling from a 1-inch model. Attacking over cover. So if Grace has cover, depending on the cover type, there's different rules for different like barriers, or I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but normally this cover is actually about 1 inch big. So if Pint Pot and Grace were like this, Grace is actually out of Pint Pot's melee range. Versus Veteran Decimate, as long as she can draw, and let me see if I can get a good angle on it. As long as Veteran Decimate can draw a line of sight, she can actually attack over this piece of cover. So something to consider. And there's different cover names, so or different cover types. So some of them I believe you can actually attack over. I just don't remember what it is off the top of my head. Another thing you can do is be a proxy goalie. So if a character, Grace is a 3/8, so it's a little harder. But if a character has a 3/6, like a 6-inch threat on goal, you see how if Decimate just stands right on this line, she has a 2-inch reach like like that, but look where 6-inch goalies have to be. They really have to be right on the edge of their line. And even then, depending on how they take that shot, look, she's threatening here. And same with over here. She's threatening all the way to like out here. So those 6-inch kick ranges characters had to be very careful. You can even push Decimate up a little bit and this threat increases. So they have to be all the way like out here to be out of Decimate. But if they're like here trying to make a goal, you see how Decimate now gives them a penalty because they're in reach. So a reach mini actually can be, if it's right here in the center, like to the goal, can threaten and be like a kind of like a proxy goalie. Not as good as some of the goalie specific models like Tenderizer or Pride, but in a pinch, you're making a lot of space, if that makes sense. Another thing you can do is so for example, we're going to pretend Tapper here is Shark. Shark has a 2-inch reach as well, and he has a bunch of dodges on his playbook. So normally what will happen is he'll counterattack and dodge out. And when he's out of your melee range, you can no longer attack him, right? So you can essentially waste a ton of influence, and all he spent was 1 momentum. Now the trick you can do is if you're base to base, right? Even if he gets a double dodge out, no matter what, he's still in your melee range. Because 2 inches out should still be within 2-inch melee. You see that? So base to base to avoid a single dodge or a double dodge, depending on the mini that you're going for. Now, another thing you can do is some models have a rule where they can charge for free. Now, that a model cannot charge if it is engaged. So, for example, Cosset in Morticians, she has a free charge on her character tactics or traits. So the thing is, let's say, again, I'm going to use Grace as sort of a budget Cosset model here. So we have Grace here. If you just walk a mini into melee range, but you could be attacking a mini over here. So say my real target's Tapper, but I don't want Cosset to get a free charge. Now I engage her with that reach, and she's a 1-inch model. There's nothing she can do except walk up and attack me. So you can essentially finagle a bunch of other abilities just by engaging. Also, same deal. If, for example, even though you have no influence on Decimate, you could just threaten the fact that, you know, Grace has to get out of this melee range, and you have a knockdown on your playbook or maybe even a tackle. That makes things scary if you want to take an attack of opportunity. And also, if she wants to shoot on goal, she now has to do it in a penalty because she's engaged. So those are some of the tips I have. I'm just going to do it from the top. So counterattack avoidance by staying out of a 1-inch melee range, better push angles, extended threat ranges, safe tackle on a 1-inch model. Let's see here, attack over cover depending on the cover, so that's sort of an asterisk. Proxy goalie, easy crowd out and mosh pit tech. Let's see here, base to base to avoid 1-inch dodge tech on enemies, and stop charges by engaging. So I hope this basics, and we're gonna do a lot more of these. We're gonna pump these out for newer players because, man, do we want to help the community. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on another one. Thank you. Bye.